You read the title right. This video isn't a joke. Enjoy! Danganronpa is a series known for many things, but one of its most notable aspects it's known for is its amazing plot twists. It's the reason why the discussion for spoilers is such a hot-button issue in the community. There are so many instances of Danganronpa pulling off a twist so unexpected that you just assume it's impossible. How the mastermind of the killing game was someone who died in the first chapter, how the main cast of the second game were followers of said mastermind, and how a killer in the third game was you all along. All these moments are famous for their subversive twists, but there's one twist I believe is just as mind-blowing, but for some reason, never really gets brought up on the same level as the others. In Chapter 1 of Goodbye Despair, it turns out that the ultimate cook, Teruteru Hanamura, killed Byakuya. While the majority of people just remember this moment with memes like on the bone meat and stuff like that, I see something different. What if I told you that Teruteru being the first case killer and the way it was handled is one of the most subversive moments in the entire series? That's right, baby. For some reason, when I was on writer's block, this idea struck into my head like a muse slamming my head with a baseball bat. But yeah, once I started thinking about it, I really wondered why there isn't more discussion around this scene. So, like how I was able to get people to appreciate Leon, I decided to make a video appreciating it in hopes people will do the exact same thing as I do. And once that happens, no one will disagree with me again! Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't a video about how I like Teruteru. There's a reason why he's one of the most hated characters in the franchise, and I don't really like the guy either. Not only does he embody one of the most annoying aspects of the Danganronpa series, its poor attempts at raunchy humor, but he's also straight up predatory, not just to the girls, but to Hajime himself. That being said, I feel like you can appreciate a part of a character while disliking a good majority of them. Speaking of which, that's the first thing that makes Teruteru so unexpected of a first killer. His character. As the sequel to Trigger Happy Havoc, Goodbye Despair has the viewer retain certain expectations that the first game set up, one of which being that the token cartoony character is unimportant comic relief, and considering that Teruteru was already set up to be comic relief, you'd expect him to play the unimportant part as well. In other media, this would make you expect Teruteru to die early, but the first victim and killer are very important roles as they set up the overall tone of the game that the rest will follow. See my Leon video for more info. Unimportant characters usually tend to die in either the second or third case of the game, as this is the point where the action has fallen after your first impressions have been set, but before the true climax occurs, starting at Chapter 4. This isn't the only reason why it would be unexpected for Teruteru to be the first case killer. If you haven't realized it before, Danganronpa loves its comic relief. Despite the fact that it's a murder mystery, part of its tone is quite comedic in nature, both with Monokuma and the cast of comic relief itself. In order to keep this tone consistent, the game often keeps its comic relief characters for a while, and there's a pretty high chance that they survive till the end. 2 out of the 4 comic relief characters survived in Trigger Happy Havoc, 3 out of the 8 survived in Goodbye Despair, and if you want to count Himiko as comic relief, which I would, even she survives alongside Maki and Shuichi. Plus, like I said before, it would be far more likely for comic relief to die in the second or third case at this point, where, because Danganronpa is at its lowest action, it also tends to be at its most comedic. You would expect the writers to use up Teruteru's comedic potential at this point before they dump him into the Shadow Realm like everyone else. And one more thing that makes Teruteru the first case killer so expected is... I'm gonna say it. The optional fan service man nutseeds. These happen in either the second or third case, and Teruteru just seems like the perfect catalyst to persuade Hajime into peeping on the girls. But I guess a mysterious force contaminated in the nut that somehow compels the protagonist to peep on the girls works just as well, I guess. Oh my god, it's the ghost of Teruteru! Now, it's already unexpected for a character like Teruteru to be the killer for the first case, but it's even more so when you acknowledge a major element in this case, Nagito Komaeda. Before this trial, we have seen Nagito as a swell guy, and we're led to believe that he'll be the Kyoko, or at least the Sayaka, of this game. But during the trial, it was revealed that Nagito was trying to start the killing game, and he only goes downhill from there. In more ways than one! Because of how shocking this scene is to the viewer, especially considering the simplicity of Trigger Happy Havoc's first trial, but viewers are completely focused on Nagito, not even considering who the true killer could be. In fact, it wouldn't be unreasonable to assume that Nagito was the killer, as he hasn't been established as the red herring rival until this point. That would be Fujihiko.
So, it's been revealed that Teruteru, and I've explained that the fact that he is one in this specific case is incredibly unexpected and subversive. However, this isn't where the subversion ends. If it was, I wouldn't be making a whole video about it. So, what comes next? Well, after every class trial, the killer explains their reasoning as to why they killed the person they did, even when it's so awful they just should have stayed silent and let the players decide instead of doing, well, you know. Just go watch my ranking motives video. So, why would Teruteru resort to murder? Well, you would probably expect the typical Danganronpa murder like Leon's or Mondo's. Not super sympathetic like Sakura's, but not one-dimensionally wrong like Celeste's. What you wouldn't expect is that Teruteru was trying to stop Nagito from putting anyone in danger by killing him first. By having his motive revolve around preventing the killing game from happening, it relates to the overall theme of Good by Despair being different from the original game, making it very important, especially for a character like Teruteru. But that's not even the whole story, which is already subversive in itself because this is only one of 2 times a motive being expanded on ever happens, the first being Sakura's forged suicide note. So, what is the whole story? Well, it turns out that another reason Teruteru wanted to kill Nagito was because of the motive revealing your lost memories, and he wanted to see if his mother was doing okay. Even when that means the rest of the class will die, this is a pretty selfless motive as far as motives go, and this is not only incredibly unexpected for a character like Teruteru, but also for a Chapter 1 motive in general. While the first 2 motives in Trigger Happy Havoc are sympathetic, neither would be one I would call selfless. The only selfless motive in that game would be Sakura's, and she was already shown to be a kind, selfless person. Teruteru, on the other hand, was anything but. In fact, it seemed like, before this moment, there was nothing to like about the guy. So it's incredibly subversive for him to have not 1, but 2 surprisingly selfless motives for murder. And this leads me to the final point of my video. When a character is revealed to be a killer, usually you either feel sad that a character you like is going to die, or repulsed that a character did such a thing. Either way, their exposure as the murderer shows the worst in that character. Teruteru, on the other hand, is the only Blacken reveal that actually shows a positive side to him that we haven't seen before. It's honestly kind of touching to see such a character die on a good note like this. It shows that even an unfunny creep like him has people he cares about and moments of selflessness. And what should be a moment of despair, Teruteru's final moments show that everyone has some good in them. But once we realize that, by the time we've discovered this side to Teruteru, it's already too late. Before you can change your opinion on him for good, Teruteru is being sent to his execution, and there's nothing you can do about it but laugh about how inappropriately tone-deaf his execution is. Like, come on guys, did you really think this would scare people? It's hilarious! Goodbye Despair's executions aren't that good. So, that's why I believe Teruteru has one of the biggest plot twists in the game. I find it really funny how, whenever I do these types of video essays on specific Danganronpa characters, it's always with the first case killer. Maybe I'll do one on Coyote someday, who knows? Anyway, what are your favorite plot twists in the series? Are there any plot twists you believe should be discussed more, and if so, why? Let me know in the comments. As always, I live, I create, I procrastinate, I mostly procrastinate though, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Peace out.